Conflict is a natural part of any relationship or organization. The goal isn't to eliminate it, but to manage it constructively. By focusing on understanding and mutual respect, you can transform disagreements into opportunities for growth. 1. Acknowledge and separate. Acknowledge the conflict, don't avoid it. Recognize that a disagreement exists and commit to addressing it. Separate the person from the problem. Focus on the issues and behaviors, not on attacking the other person's character. Avoid generalizations like, you always. 2. Listen and understand. Active listening, give your full attention. Let the other person explain their perspective without interruption. Empathize, try to understand the conflict from their point of view. Ask clarifying, open-ended questions like, can you tell me more about why that specific point is important to you? Clarify needs and interests. Beneath every position, what someone wants, are deeper interests, what someone needs. Focus the discussion on these underlying needs. 3. Communicate respectfully. Use I statements. Take responsibility for your feelings. Instead of, you make me angry, say, I feel frustrated when specific action happens because impact on you. Stay calm. Manage your own emotions. If things get too heated, agree to take a break and resume the discussion later. Identify common ground. Look for areas where your interests overlap. This forms the foundation for a solution. 4. Generate and evaluate solutions. Brainstorm options. Work together to create several possible solutions. Don't critique them yet, just list possibilities. The best solutions are often win-win. Evaluate, discuss the pros and cons of each option based on whether they meet the key interests of both parties. Agree on an action plan. Select the best solution and clearly define who will do what, by when. 5. Follow through and reassess. Formalize the agreement. Briefly summarize the agreed upon solution to ensure clarity. Check in, schedule a time to follow up and make sure the solution is working. Be willing to revisit the issue if the original plan fails to resolve the conflict. That's a key follow-up. Conflict resolution methods are often best understood through the Thomas Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument, TKI, which plots 5 distinct strategies based on 2 dimensions: assertiveness, the extent to which you try to satisfy your own concerns; cooperativeness, the extent to which you try to satisfy the other person's concerns. Here is a detailed explanation of the 5 core conflict resolution methods, along with when each one is most appropriate. Compass 5 core conflict resolution methods, TKI model, method assertiveness, cooperativeness, outcome description, and when to use one. Collaborating high win-win. This mode is about problem solving. It involves digging into the underlying interests of both parties to find a creative solution that fully satisfies everyone's concerns. Point 2. Competing high-low win-lose. This mode is power-oriented. You pursue your own concerns at the other person's expense, using rank, argument, or influence to win. Point 3. Accommodating low-high lose-win. This is the opposite of competing. You neglect your own concerns to satisfy the other person's concerns, often to preserve harmony or relationships. Point 4. Avoiding low-low lose-lose, or no deal. You sidestep the conflict by postponing, withdrawing, or diplomatically ignoring the issue. Point 5. Compromising moderate partial win. This is the middle ground. Both parties exchange concessions to find an expedient, mutually acceptable solution that partially satisfies both. Detailed explanation of each mode. 1. Collaborating, the win-win approach. Goal: to find a solution that integrates the concerns of both parties completely. In practice, requires time and deep communication to truly understand the other person's underlying needs, interests, beyond their stated position, what they are currently demanding. It involves asking many questions and working together creatively. Best used when the issue is too important for a simple compromise. The relationship is vital, and you need to build commitment and consensus. You need to integrate different perspectives to find the best possible solution. Point 2. Competing, the forcing approach. Goal: to win, to satisfy your own concerns fully, regardless of the other party. In practice, taking a firm stance, using logical arguments, or leveraging your authority to enforce a decision. Best used when quick, decisive action is vital, e.g., in an emergency, the issue is about unpopular actions, like cost-cutting, that must be implemented. You are confident that you are right on a critical issue, e.g., safety, ethics, and the relationship is less important than the outcome. Point 3. Accommodating, the yielding approach. Goal: to satisfy the other person's concerns while neglecting your own. In practice, giving in, showing goodwill, or simply agreeing to the other person's request. Best used when you realize you are wrong or that the other party is more invested in the issue. The issue is far more important to the other person than it is to you. You need to build goodwill or preserve a relationship, and the cost of giving in is low. Point 4. Avoiding the withdrawal approach. Goal: to postpone, bypass, or completely withdraw from the conflict. In practice, changing the subject, ignoring the issue, or walking away from the conversation. Best used when the issue is trivial or of minor importance. The potential damage of confronting the conflict outweighs the benefits of resolution. You need time to cool down, gather information, or reassess the situation. Point 5. Compromising, the splitting the difference approach. Goal: to find an expedient, mutually acceptable solution where both parties give up something. In practice, negotiation that involves trade-offs and concessions, e.g., I'll do X if you do Y, best used when the goals of both parties are moderately important, but not worth the effort of a full collaboration. Time is limited, and a quick resolution is needed. The parties are equal in power, and a temporary solution is acceptable while preserving the relationship. The key to successful conflict resolution is situational awareness, knowing which method is the most effective choice for a given conflict, rather than relying on a single default style. Conflict management in modern HR, beyond the fix-it shop. In modern human resources, the way we approach conflict has undergone a fundamental transformation. We no longer see conflict as a failure to be suppressed, but as an inevitable signal, a vital data point that points to underlying systemic or relational issues. Our job, as HR professionals, is to move from being a reactive, firefighting department to a strategic resource that uses conflict as a catalyst for organizational improvement. Brain shifting the mindset, embracing constructive disagreement. The biggest shift is moving away from the old transactional, win-lose approach. We utilize established frameworks like the Thomas Kilmann Conflict Mode Instrument, TKI, to diagnose how people typically react, avoiding or accommodating. These styles leave the root problem untouched, breeding resentment and allowing issues to fester. Competing creates clear winners and losers, which severely damages workplace relationships and team cohesion. Compromising, a partial solution where everyone gives up something. It's often a necessary tactic, but not the long-term goal. The modern HR goal is collaboration. This is the true win-win approach, requiring both high assertiveness, clarity about one's needs, and high cooperation, a willingness to find a solution that satisfies all parties. We must coach our employees to shift from arguing over positions, I need Fridays off, to understanding underlying interests, I need predictable, protected time for personal obligations. Addressing the interest is what unlocks creative, sustainable resolutions. Hammer and Wrench HR's strategic toolkit, prevention and capability building. Our most effective conflict management tool is prevention. We manage conflict best by creating an environment where it can be resolved safely at the lowest level, often without HR needing to step in. 1. Building psychological safety and clarity. The foundation must be psychological safety. This is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. When safety is high, disagreements can be constructive. We reinforce this by establishing clear, explicit ground rules for interaction, such as, we challenge ideas, not people, and, we debate decisions fiercely, but support them wholeheartedly once made. 2. Investing in emotional intelligence, EQ. Conflict resolution is, at its core, an EQ skill. HR must equip both managers and employees with the tools to manage their own reactions and recognize others' perspectives. Self-regulation, training people to manage their own, fight or flight, responses during heated moments. Active listening, this is non-negotiable. We must teach techniques like reflective listening, so, you're saying that the core issue is the deadline, not the resource allocation, to ensure both parties feel validated and truly understood. This act of validation is the fastest way to de-escalate tension. Compass the intervention process, structure and follow-up. When a conflict escalates and requires formal intervention, HR must maintain the role of an impartial mediator, ensuring the process is fair, systematic, and focused on behavioral change. Structured diagnosis. The first step is always individual meetings to gather facts. We focus on observable behaviors and their impact, not assumptions or personality critiques. We ask open-ended questions to uncover the root cause, which is often a misalignment in process, resources, or goals, not just a personality clash. Setting the stage for dialogue. When mediating a joint meeting, we set clear rules. Use I statements to own feelings and perspectives, and enforce a no interruption policy. The focus must be forward-looking. What does success look like a month from now? Collaborative problem solving. The mediator's job is not to provide the answer, but to guide the conflicting parties to discover one. We transition from dwelling on the past to brainstorming future solutions together. A solution co-created by the parties has a significantly higher chance of long-term adherence. Accountability and follow-up. Resolution must result in a concrete, behavioral action plan. Most importantly, HR must schedule a formal check-in 1 to 2 weeks later. This follow-up signals that the resolution is an ongoing relationship repair process, not just a box to be ticked. Globe navigating the hybrid and digital workplace. The modern workplace is often remote or hybrid, which presents new challenges for conflict. Digital communication is a major conflict incubator due to the loss of non-verbal cues. The channel check. We must train employees to recognize when a conflict is starting in a low-context channel, email, Slack, and escalate it to a high-context channel, voice or video call, before it spirals. You can't resolve a complex, emotional issue over instant message. Conflict management is not just a reactive function of human resources, HRM, it is a powerful catalyst for human resource development, HRD. By analyzing the causes, managing the process, and implementing follow-up actions from conflicts, HR can systematically identify skill gaps and create targeted development programs. Here is how conflict management, a function of HRM, can be leveraged for HRD. 1. Identifying core development needs. Every recurring conflict highlights an area where the organization's or employees' capabilities are falling short. HR uses the data from conflict resolution to pinpoint systemic training needs. Conflict observation, HRM function, development need, HRD program, recurring disagreements over project priorities or resource allocation, training in organizational goal alignment and negotiation skills for managers. Conflicts escalate due to employees feeling unheard or resorting to passive aggression. Mandatory active listening and constructive feedback workshops for all staff. Disputes arising from misinterpretation of written communication, e.g., email or Slack. Coaching on digital communication best practices and clarity of instruction for remote, hybrid teams. Issues stemming from unclear job boundaries or delegated responsibilities. Role clarity, job scoping workshops and accountability training for new managers. Point 2. Building critical leadership and employee capabilities. The process of conflict resolution naturally serves as a high-impact, real-world training ground for emotional intelligence, EQ, and other critical workplace skills. Emotional intelligence, EQ, development. Conflict forces individuals to confront their emotional triggers. HR uses this as an opportunity to coach employees and managers on self-awareness, recognizing their own emotions, and self-regulation, managing their reactions during tense situations. Mediation and coaching skills for managers. When HR trains managers to handle conflict at the lowest possible level, they are effectively turning them into internal coaches. This is a core HRD effort that increases the manager's competence in coaching, negotiation, and difficult conversations, making them better leaders overall. Fostering collaborative problem solving. Effective conflict resolution, the collaborating style over competing or avoiding, teaches employees to focus on underlying interests rather than rigid positions. This skill directly enhances their ability to function in cross-functional teams and generate creative business solutions. Point 3. Improving organizational systems and culture. Conflict management data helps HR move beyond individual development to enact large-scale organizational improvements, which is the strategic pinnacle of HRD. Policy and process improvement. A stream of conflicts tied to a specific policy, e.g., hybrid work scheduling, performance review criteria, signals that the policy itself is flawed or unclear. HR uses this data to revise policies, making them clearer and more equitable, thus reducing future conflict. Promoting psychological safety. When HR establishes a fair, transparent, and respectful conflict resolution process, it builds trust in the system. This assurance encourages employees to speak up about issues early, whether they are disagreements or opportunities for innovation, which is the definition of a psychologically safe culture. Embedding learning in the culture. By debriefing conflicts, analyzing what went wrong and what was learned, HR transforms a negative event into an organizational learning opportunity. This embeds a culture where disagreement is viewed as an input for growth rather than a threat. In the modern HR world, using conflict management is entirely different from the traditional, purely disciplinary approach. It's transformed from a reactive, fix-it function to a strategic tool that drives engagement, innovation, and organizational health. Here is how conflict management is used strategically in the modern HR environment. 1. Bullseye strategic talent management, recruitment and retention. Modern HR uses conflict dynamics to make better hiring and retention decisions. Behavioral interviewing. During recruitment, HR designs interview questions based on common workplace conflicts. Examples include, "Tell me about a time you strongly disagreed with a manager's decision," or, "How do you handle a team member who consistently misses deadlines?" The focus is on the candidate's conflict style and emotional intelligence, EQ, not the outcome. Reducing toxic turnover. Unresolved conflict is a primary driver of toxic turnover, the loss of high-performing employees who leave due to a negative work environment. By proactively monitoring and addressing conflict, using HR data from engagement surveys or exit interviews, HR can reduce voluntary separation and save substantial recruitment costs. Succession planning. Employees who demonstrate a collaborative conflict style, those who can assert their needs while cooperating to find a joint solution, are identified as high-potential leaders and placed into development programs. This makes conflict competence a key criterion for advancement. 2. Light bulb fueling innovation and decision-making. Conflict is viewed as an asset in the modern workplace, provided it remains constructive. HR's role is to structure disagreement so it leads to better outcomes. Dissenters dialogue. HR coaches leaders to foster intellectual conflict, or task conflict, while minimizing relational conflict, personality clashes. This means framing meetings around objectives. We need everyone to argue for the best possible product feature, not for their personal idea. This ensures the best ideas emerge from robust debate. Psychological safety, the foundation. The single most crucial modern HR concept is psychological safety. When employees feel safe, they are willing to speak up, challenge the status quo, and risk disagreements without fear of retribution. HR establishes this safety through clear communication protocols and non-punitive feedback structures. Diverse perspectives. Conflicts often arise from diverse teams, age, background, function, having different viewpoints. HR champions conflict management as the mechanism to synthesize those diverse views, turning friction into better, more innovative solutions. 3. Shield mitigating risk and ensuring compliance. A structured conflict process is essential for protecting the company from legal and ethical risks. Grievance and due process. HR ensures that every conflict, especially those involving policy violations, e.g., harassment, discrimination, safety, is addressed through a clear, documented, and legally compliant grievance procedure. This provides due process for all parties. Documentation. Modern HR emphasizes the thorough and neutral documentation of all conflict interventions. This data is critical for defending the organization in potential legal disputes and demonstrating that the company acted fairly and consistently according to its policies. Systemic issue analysis. Instead of just resolving a single complaint, HR looks for patterns. If multiple conflicts point to the same flaw in a departmental process or a manager's behavior, HR intervenes at the systemic level, preventing the recurrence of disputes and reducing company risk. 4. Upward trend driving performance and development. Conflict resolution is directly linked to performance management and HR development programs. Feedback mechanism. Conflict provides the purest form of feedback on business processes and relationships. When a conflict occurs, HR's job is to identify the root cause, e.g., is it a personality clash, or are the commission structures pitting sales members against each other? Addressing the root cause improves system-wide performance. Targeted training. As outlined previously, HR uses conflict data to develop highly relevant training. Instead of generic communication workshops, they create modules focused on the identified deficits, such as navigating matrix reporting conflicts or assertiveness for new team leads. In the modern HR world, conflict management is essentially a tool for continuous organizational improvement, turning inevitable friction into measurable professional development and competitive advantage.